Hello, I'm Matt from Unbearable 73. In this episode, we'll be discussing an article from Bounding into Comics from J.D. Charles regarding how Amazon's Reacher's TV series fixes some of the movie's biggest mistakes. So let's get right into it. Now, it goes without saying that I recommended Reacher as a series in a previous video. If I remember, I will link to it down below. You should watch it. As far as it's a good series on its own, and there's no question about that. But as far as being a faithful adaptation of the first book, oh, it definitely is. Now, before we launch into that, let me just point one thing out. I found a site. Apparently, there's a Reacher Fandom website, Wiki. So, I mean, it might just be rehashes of articles from Wikipedia, but initially, but hopefully the fan base for Reacher has actually developed this a bit more than usually you'll see on Wikipedia. But I recommend using this as your resource for it because it seems at least as accurate as anything I've seen out there in terms of a Reacher encyclopedia / dictionary. So on to our article. So how Amazon's Reacher TV series fixed one of the film's biggest mistakes. So I will slightly expand on my opinion of the films. The first one was good. The second one was kind of okay, but felt off. Okay? Now, and when I say good, I mean it was an enjoyable popcorn flick. Having read the first 4 books, as I mentioned, I read the first 2, I think, a few years before the film came out. Heard they were doing a film and read the next 2 or something like that. I know I saw the first film in between reading the first and second or second and third books. And I know I've read the first book because I saw it recommended by something else I was reading, like one of these type of articles here, and kind of liked it. Thought it was a good character, and then continue reading. It's a good character, and I go into other videos to why I haven't read more than the first 4 books yet. I do intend to maybe pick up another book or 2 down the series at least the next year or 2. So, the Reacher movies, the Tom Cruise film, Tom Cruise, when he plays Reacher, gets Reacher's mentality and his kind of spiritual approach to things correct. Certainly the mentality, not so much the spiritual, like Reacher's reason to be on walkabout that I discussed in the review of the Reacher TV series. That seems kind of lacking in the 2 movies. But Reacher's mentality, his approach to things, methodical approach, analytical, not starting trouble, always finishing it, the way he moves, the way he fights, that sort of thing. Cruise portrays that well. Problem is, Tom Cruise is a midget compared to Reacher in the books. And as I mentioned, they got the right actor for Reacher in this TV series. So what does J.D. Charles say about Reacher fixes one of the film's biggest mistakes? So the first concept to understand is the Reacher series does not have to fix any of the film's mistakes. The Reacher series is its own entity. And comparing them is comparing 2 entirely different products for a reason I will discuss below. So he thinks people are confused because of the 2 Tom Cruise films. And most of those who've seen those never read the novel of Early Child. That's probably true. I'm hoping that those who like the films went and read the novels, and now they read the novels, will be drawn to this TV series. That's what I hope. It has been renewed, if I remember correctly. I think I mentioned that in its own article or in the original one. I did. So, and he brings a good point here. I'll read his line. Basically, Jack featured... I hate the outline. Okay, here we go. A little trick for you if you have trouble highlighting stuff with your mouse on a web page. Drag it from the bottom. Like go to the end and drag back, and oftentimes it's a lot easier to get what you want than if you try to get right before that first character. Anyway, basically, Jack Reacher, the fictional hero, suffered from what I call Weiss syndrome. That's where a fictional character is mistaken for the portrayal of themselves by the movie or TV version. Okay? So, what is Weiss syndrome? And he goes on explaining it using because obviously Johnny Weissmuller is a reference to the first actor, well, not the first actor, the actor who played Tarzan in the first, I guess, first non-silent film. I will look this up for another video because I love Tarzan as I love the books and the movies, and I understand they're different. But anyway, so Johnny Weissmuller is the most well known for playing Tarzan, and Weissmuller's films were very enjoyable. Okay, uh, so you should watch them. I will have a whole other video there. So now, for those who've never read the Tarzan book but may have seen some of the Tarzan adaptations over the year, in the book, Tarzan is not a human acting like an ape and talking like me, Tarzan, you, Jane. And the dude's a genius, and it's important to understand that the apes that Tarzan is raised by in the books are not regular gorillas. They're almost like it's almost like Burroughs was reading Howard's how the ancient Atlanteans and Howard devolved into giant mountain apes and then some of them re-evolved into humans. Like these are special, super intelligent apes compared to regular gorillas, and Tarzan's raised by them. But Tarzan himself is a genius. He learns ape languages. He can pick up other human languages. He teaches himself multiple languages, human language, before he ever encounters other humans. He can pick up science and technology later in his life, of course, not early on. Not that he becomes a scientist. He's not Doc Savage, but he's intelligent and he's capable of doing more than you see in most Tarzan films. So, but however, when we got to the Weissmuller films, Johnny Weissmuller, and I don't know if it was his decision or the person doing the movie, they thought no one would believe a super intelligent Tarzan, and we got the dumbed down portrayal, which was still entertaining because he was still a noble character. And as the character evolved through all the films that were sequels to the Johnny Weissmuller film, because from when Weissmuller started his first film until I believe it was the Tarzan TV series of the late 60s, that's all the same character. For those who understand, even though like six or seven different actors who play Tarzan, it's all actually the same character. It's the same continuity. And later on, in the last couple of interpretations of Tarzan, he gets intelligent again. I will have a whole other video on Tarzan. But the point is Weissmuller syndrome. That's what great name for it. And he mentioned Weissmuller that he refers to something saying that Burroughs was happy to cash in those big royalty checks from MGM and see his book sales and merchandise skyrocket. But in time, it irked Burroughs that the public thought of the Weissmuller version, not the original, to the point that he wrote the script for an original Tarzan movie he helped produce and cast Herman Briggs as Tarzan. Now, Briggs looked more like Tarzan, as he says. He was sinewy and ripped, unlike being more agile and svelte-looking like Weissmuller. The Weissmuller was pretty built. People forget that. He was pretty built. He talked like Tarzan in the books, and I've seen... but the film didn't do well. They eventually basically gave it to Lex Barker and made it be the crude Tarzan again, and it really got annoying. I hope someday to see a great Tarzan. But anyway, let's skip that. So he gets to talking about Reacher, right? And he goes, apparently author Lee Child didn't learn a damn thing from any of this. A few years back, when Hollywood made Jack Reacher, Tom Cruise miscast in the part. Short, dark, and average build. Cruise bears absolutely no resemblance to Jack Reacher in Child's book. Well, no physical resemblance, but as I said, he captures the mentality very accurately. But here's the thing. The first point here, and before I get to the second point, which is another thing this J.D. Chambers, J.D. Whatever his name is wrong about. First thing is, Lee Child had zero control over those movies. When you're an author who's never sold anything, doesn't have a lot of power, if you don't have the power when you sell your product, it's going to get controlled by someone else. Well, that's the reality of how almost all these adaptations work. We saw it happen in Wheel of Time. Robert Jordan had passed, and for whatever reason, his widow didn't have it. Either she sold the rights or Jordan did, and they gave away control of the property to Amazon, and we got garbage out of it. And look what's happening again with the Amazon Lord of the Rings TV series. Again, the rights. This is a secondary set of rights, but the Tolkien family has no control over either of the 2 or 3 sets of rights going out there for movie, TV, or animated properties. And it shows. I mean, even as good as the PJ films were, Peter Jackson films, there are still flaws in them that I can go on and on about. And I'm not going to kill this video for that, because that's a whole other thing. So now, and this is something apparently uh, the writer here didn't know. Lee Child is an executive producer on the Reacher's TV series, and that's why the TV series is much more accurate in many things, especially in terms of the actor chosen to cast as Reacher. Uh, Lee Child had no say over those movies. He had sold the rights, and basically Tom Cruise controlled those movies. I'm not blaming Cruise, because, like I said, the first one was a good film, it was an entertaining popcorn film, and that was that. So that's one thing that this writer needs to understand, is that especially when authors who don't have a lot of economic power behind their name, when they sell their adaptation, their rights to adapt stuff, they basically give up control of it. And if you look at some of the better examples when author kept control, George R. R. Martin had a lot of control of the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. We got 4 great seasons. They basically fired him after the 5th, either during or after the 5th season, and seasons 6 was bad, 7 was horrible, and 8 was absolute garbage. Martin is an expert at TV writer. He understood how to convey a story on TV. Even if we disagree with some of the changes in the TV show, the first 4 seasons worked as entertainment value, and we felt that even though it was different from the books, it was still true to most of the stuff in the books. So my point is, this writer needs to understand that most authors, when they sell their rights away, don't have a lot of say. Now let's go down to my next complaint about Mr. I'm going to get his name because it's going to burn me. I need J.D. Charles. Mr. Charles, J.D. Charles. I don't know if it was a Mr. or Mr. I'm going to say J.D. Charles. So my second complaint about J.D. Charles's article comes here. If it will stop flinging me forward. I swear, these web pages need to. Oh, here we go. Right here. Here we go. So in the book, he goes, in the books, Reacher is 6'5" and 240 pounds of solid muscle. His brute strength plays a pivotal role in the books as Reacher goes through stuff that put an ordinary man in the hospital. His Herculean physique is Jack Reacher's weapon. He doesn't own a gun, but he usually gets one when needed by disarming the bad guys. So here's the point. Reacher's weapon in the books is not his physique. It's his mind and his spirit. Reacher, yeah, he's genetically gifted to be great shape, tall, have potential for being athletic, but he didn't. We see a lot of people who are 6'5" and weigh 700 pounds. I struggle with obesity myself, and I'm around 5'11". The point to make here is Reacher built himself. He went through training before, from his family with his father. Before he became a soldier and took the training to an elite level. He trained his body and his mind and his spirit to have. His spiritual aspect was lacking, and that's why he went on Walkabout, as I mentioned in my review of the series. He was looking for that spiritual completion, the quest, if you will. That's his Reacher's quest, is to learn why the country that he devoted himself to, his duty is to learn to love it. So the Chambers is wrong here. Okay. But then he does have a good point in the novels. Lee Child is not a gun expert. So he does, at least in the first 2 novels. And I'm not a gun expert, but I've watched some on TV. I follow enough. I educate myself enough to, be aware of things. And the first 2 books, the firearms depiction and how they're used and whatnot is a little off. It gets a little better in the 3rd and 4th book, and that's where I stopped. So I'm presuming Lee Child educated himself on firearms as things went on, which makes sense. If Reacher is being profitable economically as an author, you will then devote time to researching things to, improve your writing. And so, interesting point he makes here about Dolph Lundgren would have been well cast as Reacher in the 90s. I don't know about that. Dolph Lundgren is not a bad actor. The problem is English is not his first language. I've seen Dolph in foreign language stuff, I did believe it's from the Netherlands or from Denmark. I want to say the Netherlands. And when he's acting in roles where he can use his native language, he seems a much better actor. So I'm guessing he didn't translate to English as well. Although I know people will criticize it, but if you go back and watch the Dolph Lundgren Punisher film, he is dead on as the Punisher. Dead on. And there's another film of his. I should do like a Dolph Lundgren, review of some films because I enjoyed, like Red Scorpion, who was really good in. But anyway, those are asides. Now, so that's my general summary of this article and my response to it. Some good points, some bad points. This guy is dead wrong about what Reacher's primary weapon is, his primary ability, and clearly doesn't understand that authors who don't have a lot of power going into it almost have to forfeit complete control of their product to get the adaptation. And my sense is that Lee Childs did that with the movies, got a ton of money, built up the what we used to call the Q value of the character, the recognition of it. Then when Amazon approached him for another set of rights, he was like, okay, but I want to be in control of this so it's done right. As Amazon's like, sure, fine, we want, give us a write-up on it or something like that. And it went through and it worked very well. So that's my take on that. This is Matt from Unbearable73. If you like it, hit the like button. If you dislike it, and YouTube turns it on, because I have to check and see if they actually turned it on. Hit the dislike. Hit the subscribe if you want more content from me. Follow me on social media. I have links below. And go and watch the Reacher TV series. It's very, very good. Almost excellent parts. And I have a previous review on it if you want to watch that. That's what I think, and I am out of here.